Okay. So we're going to start out with the Pricebook Advanced training session that's going to give us some of the mass update tools for Pricebook. And this EDI import from grocery vendor will separate that off to a different topic. But we'll go ahead and get into these different areas. So when we're working with the store Pricebook, a lot of these utilities exist because we're working with very large volumes of data, and we want to be able to efficiently update it and maintain it. So you notice there's these bottom 4 options here are all related to either mass price changes or mass setup changes. So we'll start with update item pricing. That's the most common topic. Prices are always changing for customers. So on the update pricing, we're going to be able to go into pick different options here, right? Location is the stores. So we can pick each store that we need to apply this against, or we can leave it blank for all. Same thing with by vendor, by category, which would be the department as well. Families and classes, those are those special attributes that we talked about assigning to UPCs, and they're meant for efficient grouping of like products that would typically be priced together, or can also be used for just a reporting mechanism. So and then you can get down into region or district. So if you're a company like Lassus who's got multiple states that your customers or your stores are operating in, it's a very good chance that you're going to have some different pricing or potentially different taxation in those areas. So you can also specify by a region or district, and each store can get assigned to a region and a district. So you could use either one of these as filters as well as the state. So the most common way this is used is to come in and pick families and classes, and the combination of them, right? You can have just one of each assigned to the items, but typically it's the combination of them both that makes the biggest difference. So what we're seeing here is the filters on the top. Any items that match the family and class are going to be changed to the amounts at the bottom. So we can change a standard cost if there's a new cost from the vendor. We can change a retail price, and then we can change promotional price and promotional timeframes. So if I do a preview on this, this is going to show me all the records that are impacted, including the old value and which locations would be impacted. So if I were to run this again for just location 1001 and preview this, you see I'm just seeing the 2 records here that are for Pepsi 20-ounce products, versus here if we're looking at leaving it blank, seeing all stores. So when we preview, if you notice on this, you can't update until you've successfully previewed. That is intentional. A long time ago, we used to make lots of customers nervous, and we used to do like full database backups of all the Pricebook files because you could really mass change a lot of stuff. If you left this information blank, you could change everything in your store to $1.99. I actually had one customer do that. They changed everything in the entire store to 99 cents. And it's just really hard to unmix that paint unless you restore from a backup. And unfortunately, that customer didn't call us until they spent a whole weekend trying to fix all their pricing and realized that they could have done it much easier if they just had done the backup. So when you do a preview, now you have the option to update data. And so this will give us a finalization of what records were updated. So this gives us the ability, like if we wanted to, let's just change everything at 101 to $1.99. So you would hope that a user would see, that, hey, these aren't all good things to change to $1.99. That it's more than what they intended. That's the intent. And typically, like if I did this for 1001's got a much fuller price book. So this is going to return thousands of records now. So one thing to note, if the new price and the old price are equal, it will not preview them to this grid either. So I probably should have ran this for a smaller subset. This should also be the first indication to a user that they did something wrong if it's taken this long. Like, wow, it's really got to think to give us thousands of records. So as opposed to letting this think and run the whole time, I'm gonna drop this down to just a category. Should preview this one again for the whole category. Still gonna be, if you think about it, a couple thousand records. Looks like you might put a lock on it too. We know Pepsi 20 ounce runs fast, so let's do that one. This isn't going to show anything unless I change this to a new price. Just trying to confirm if those other requests are technically still running behind the scenes on the server or not.
So I just want to be clear, you're updating Pepsi just for that one location. I kind of missed it on the flip screen there.
Right, that's the intent here, right? For this
Oh,
one
and all right, okay. You're updating all of for whatever your reasons, you're updating 20 ounces clear up to $2.99.
Right, yeah, mostly just to show a difference, right? I've already ran one update on them too.
Right, does it take a while for the utility to run?
It can, but I'm wondering if it doesn't have a cancel. Like earlier, this took a couple of seconds, right, to run it.
Oh, got it.
We ran this exact same thing earlier, but if that's just firing off
Right.
more requests.
So now that screen there doesn't create the item. So here's where I'm going with that. If I had a customer that has 7 stores and they're going to build an 8th or created an 8th store, bought it, whatever, this doesn't copy the items from one store to the next. This just updates the pricing.
Right.
Okay.
It looks like it is canceling the request. I was just every time I was doing it, trying to take a look at it, but let me do this. Just thought it was peculiar that even the item quick entry screen wouldn't load. Which tells me that there's something going on server side for this. And that's actually a good point too of does it time out? Should have stuck the training to the easy stuff, to the 10 records without problems, right? Because this never happens to an implementer where they see a weird issue when they're implementing. Yeah, the fact that it's locked up there, there's definitely a request going. And I'm just trying to get connected to the server here real quick to at least calm it down. All right, so this definitely tells me that something got hung up and is blocking these other processes. So it's got to be this one. That's interesting. Doesn't look like it though. Other than that's the oldest one that's not suspended. Yeah, you could see these are definitely running the store SPs here. So that request finally timed out. All right, well, we're gonna put a JIRA in for that one. Elsa's not even here to see it. Shouldn't have to wait 10 minutes for it to roll itself back to. It took 10 minutes to run before it completed itself. So this is probably something that can be done more efficiently. There's always room for optimizations in the code. So now this should give me results. So odds are when I did it for everything the first time, it didn't like it. All right, so this would be 637 records. So if I go to update item pricing now, I'm just going to try it one more time for mostly because I want to know how long it takes. Yeah, so that's reasonable. Apparently, the unreasonable is everything else. So just for the sake of thoroughness here, right? So I asked it to change everything in department 7, and I got 492 records. Over here, I had 637, but I'm expecting this will be, I put not equal to $1.99. Still not quite that 492. There, I'm not going to look for that needle in the haystack in this particular training session, but it's definitely peculiar now. Because the only thing I had there was the department and the price, so it shouldn't change anything that's not already $1.99. You know what? Let's get Fountain in there. All right, there we go. Now I'm no longer confused. Okay, yeah, the filter of 7 was too generic. It was including other departments that happen to have a 17 or 27, so we're good now. So 492 versus 492 here, they're going to match. That's what I was expecting. So just for, so this can also be done to set UPCs themselves. So that way it would change it at multiple locations. So if they just had one new, so let's say this UPC wasn't done in a family or class, then this would be able to be done just for one UPC and change like all 36 stores at once if that's what they needed to do. To just update a single item's price. So that could be used pretty frequently for that purpose. Otherwise, the goal is going to be get as good a families or classes as possible. So for the heck of it, we'll just update that data too. All right. So after we do those update prices, then we have another option. It's very similar. It's go for update item data. And what you'll notice, this has the ability to set even more data than before. So if we go back into that 7 or pop here, we have the ability within here to make everything in that entire department sales taxed. So if you remember, there is default price settings at the category level that includes many of these indicators. So if those weren't set properly, then this is a very common way to clean up that data to set up, if it needs to be set to taxable and saleable and returnable. So if we preview this, this should be more than the 492 because I didn't filter that. And this may be taking more time because it's trying to interpret multiple fields. Let that run for a moment here. All right. So you can see from this one, it's actually updating 1781 records because it's changing 3 fields probably every time for every one of those records. So if there was anything incorrect about this, we would want to go back and make a change. We can hit the details. Otherwise, I'm just going to hit an update data on this one. And it might take another minute to complete the update. My guess is the preview and the update are going to take similar time, maybe even a little bit longer on the update since it's actually got to do some database update operations.
Yeah, SQL updates. It's updating row by row, multiple fields, right?
I'm not sure what the SQL command is behind the scenes, but I know it's being passed to an inventory SP because all of this Pricebook data on the front end, the screens we have, it's still going back and maintaining all that data on the back end.
Right. So SQL updates are just known to be slow. They call it R bar for a reason.
My experience is they can always be made faster too. So,
like I said, that the reason it's called R bar, but maybe our procedure could be laid out differently or something. But anyway, that's another topic. But row by row in SQL is just
Yeah. So that took about a minute and a half. So I mean, for what it's doing, it's not fast, but it's not ridiculously slow unless you preview it and close it multiple times. All right, so we update item data. So a couple other scenarios that could be done here is like the UPCs. So now we're on a different screen and we can do different fields, right? So now down here we could set this to Pepsi, 20 ounce. So this is very common for somebody to use this utility to clean up and mass assign items. By the way, just more of a heads up, I already had Nelson fix this. This is just because we're working on an April version in the demo database that this should be getting cleaned. But if you notice here, I'm trying to change Pepsi 20 ounce and the family and class, and I just wanted to change those two fields. But if you notice here, those other three fields I just changed on the earlier one, these are all check boxes. And since they were defaulted to unchecked the next time I came in, it's trying to redo those again. Now, if I preview, it should just be the two fields I want to change. So there is a development change in place that basically there's a question, do you want to change this field, yes or no? And then if so, what value do you want to change it to? So it's two fields to make it work, as opposed to requiring you to fill in every single one of these checkboxes at the bottom every time you do an update. That didn't make sense. You should be able to just update based on this criteria the fields desired. So we can update that data. Those are done. And then other ways this can be used is with description. All right, and there nothing has that, or this doesn't work. Wonder if it's doing an exact description. Yeah, that's not going to be handy. All right, we got to change that one. Yeah, so we really want the description to be able to match partially. There we go. So with that one, so that's a common method. Also being able to run it for a range of prices. So let's just update this one. And then, so for example, everything in your, so in a perfect world, you'd say everything that's between 179 and 179 And the contains here would be a description that would work, right? You would put in Pepsi, but then you would, everything in this pop department, you would preview that for $1.79, and then this should give me quite a few results. Right, so while I see a lot of things go into Pepsi, well, apparently we can already tell that's not a great idea, because some of these just happen to be, the 16 ounce happens to be the same price as the 20 ounce. So some of these are more reflective of what should be in there. And apparently Mountain Dew's got every type of flavor you could imagine. Actually surprised there wasn't Coke in here too. Unless that wasn't the price. Yeah, 52 times 2. Yeah, so that was correct. I was just wrong on the price. But then going back to that description concept, right? If I wanted everything in here of Pepsi, and then, so this is where we got to fix that description filtering, right? But then here's some of these $1.79s. But if I put Coke in here, you see, it looks like all the Coke 20 ounces are $1.69, or some of them are. Right, so it's not an exact science, but it's meant to be able to slice and dice and make mass changes to the data to get them to match. And the fact that this could be done by family and class as a filter, but also using some of these other filters to assign family and class just helps you, so you don't have to go drill into a bunch of screens. So it definitely can be used to be more efficient on those areas. So we're going to go ahead and close out update item data. I think you guys are getting the gist of that. And then we're going to go into the update rebate discount. This is going to be very much identical to the update item data. It's just a couple more fields that are related to rebates or discounts only. So similar filters at the top. It's expecting that you have all of the key filters already in place. So you would be using family and class instead of UPC or price. Potentially the screen could be expanded for UPC if that made sense. Yeah, I can still run it, make sure it works. Usually rebates are on cigarettes. Yeah, I wasn't sure I would have anything assigned to Camel. I'll set something up with Camel real quick. We're not real quick. I'm going to jump over to the item screen. See if I can plug it in there. Okay, I click close. Let's go. Faster screen. There it is. Now if I go back to that preview here, I should find a matching item. I'm not going to spend too much time on this rebate discount. It's very rarely used. Um, other than I do just want to just make sure that that UPC that I assigned it to has a family and class here. Yeah, so there's multiple items here. It's store. I didn't pick a store. So it should have been able to change those fields. And it can't be because those have those values in there. Okay, so with the update item data, the update pricing, and then the update rebates. So the rebates hasn't been added to this yet. We were initially going to obsolete the update rebates, but I think Glasses is going to be using that. So these mass change utilities, we have a revert mass price book changes. And if you're working on any conversions from origin, there used to be a restore price book from backup option. So this revert mass price book changes is better than that because that the origin feature restored every single item back to that last backup. So that could mean you could be losing manual changes, whereas in this case, uh, this is only looking to revert the actual changes that happened recently. So you can see today all of the changes that we were doing. It's got a date, timestamp, user, what the filter criteria was, what the value was they wanted to update, and then you can go into that and like this one, the 1781, you could go into that and see all those details. So you can see each one of these and you can choose what the current data is and what the prior data is in case we want to revert it on any of these values. So you can selectively pick and choose which ones are meant to be reverted. So for example, if I go back into this one, I can choose, yeah, maybe this wasn't Pepsi, but 20 ounce was right. So I could click just the one row, revert it, and then it should revert it back to blank. So if I go back to that item, thought it was that item there. Yeah, that 1201. Okay. So we reverted it. Go back over here now to, all right. And of course, it's not showing as reverted, even though we told it to. Peculiar. Wow, this is another one of those trainings that's going splendidly.
So maybe I just missed it, but the revert is so like I did an update, like you were doing earlier, where you did the update to Pepsi to 2.99, but you accidentally did Pepsi and Coke and a bunch of stuff you didn't mean to. This revert lets you go back to that.
Yeah, so whatever the prior value was that was captured at that time.
Got it. So it just lets you capture. So does it just keep all the history out there of what ones you want to revert?
Yes.
So if you just really just screwed up a location, you actually have a way. Might take you a while, but you actually have a way to undo it.
Correct. Yeah, you'd be able to revert.
Are we speaking from an experience, Brian? Is that how this got developed?
Oh yeah. I'm telling you, somebody changed every price in their system to 99 cents. Talk to that customer.
and Brian said never again.
And I told him, I said, man, that's what backups are for.
Yeah.
But with this, you can actually be smart about reverting.
Right. You can cherry pick. Maybe you don't want to undo everything.
Right. Yeah, so let me go to pricing because I know pricing does revert. Except for I don't want this October one. Right, so Let me just revert this one item back to 219. So then if I go back to because I know this is the one that I reverted, right? So it was $1.99. Now that one actually reverted back to the 219. So I wonder if the revert just doesn't work for reverting the blank.
And couldn't it get a little messy if you've done multiple updates? So let's say you ran a utility, updated your Pepsi, then you manually looked at the item at the store level, changed it again.
Yeah, definitely.
So then you say, oh, revert, then is it put back what it was from the utility, or is it put back what the user did?
It would just revert it back to the prior value at the time the utility ran.
Got it. So the utility is keeping track of what it did, and then we have the opportunity to leverage that to reverse things.
Right. Yeah, so that one still has it. All right. Too many bugs for what I'm liking. I mean, it's not altogether surprising because this is something that Macintosh isn't even using these features. They could be, probably should be, but they're not currently.
Wouldn't, for the most part, be used only during the setup.
Well, like the update item pricing, it's so common for prices to change.
Right, but like the revert utilities, those would only be, unless you just royally messed up, like you updated Pepsi for every store, you didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, exactly. The revert, I would say, is less common. The update item data is done more during the initial
Right.
update creation phase. So really, it's just this one update item pricing they would do most often. And then there's another option on retail price adjustments. And so this has the option to create pricing. All the things we've seen so far have been real time. So this allows us to create a event in the future. And there's actually a scheduler job that will run this automatically in SQL. So Nelson's already made some changes to this, so I'm not going to go too deep into the all the scenarios for it. But basically, the customers are getting advance notice of price changes, so they want to plug them into the system when they get notice of it, that it's supposed to take effect. So So you should be able to, like one of the changes is location shouldn't be required. You should be able to leave that blank and have it apply pricing to all locations, all regions, districts, vendors. So this is just like the update pricing where you can leave any of these blank and have it do everything, or you can be very specific on what you want it to do. So if we knew certain items we wanted to fix pricing on, so let's say this Mountain Dew 1 liter, right? So we've got a couple of, if this is the regular retail price or promotional sale price, and then price method, there's a couple of ways we can do this to calculate. This is the other area that Nelson did some cleanup on to make sure all these price methods calculated properly. Fixed price is the most common. You just set whatever price you want it to be. But it's also happens not nearly as commonly, but on a regular basis. Customers might say, well, let's add 20 cents to all my products. So they could do whatever the current sell price is plus 20 cents. And normally they wouldn't do this one UPC, they'd be doing it for an entire category across the board. Or they could say, take it plus a percent. Maybe I want to mark up everything, take its current price and add 10% to it. So, this example, fixed price, make everything $1.99. Sell plus amount, make everything 20 cents higher than its current price. Sell plus percent, make everything 10% higher than its current price. Our gross margin is to set a price based on the cost that will coincide with a desired gross margin. So again, these last three are typically, the last two for sure, percentage and gross margin, are more likely to be done at a category level. Whereas a sell plus amount and fixed are probably more likely to be done by more specific family class. It's rare for you to say, well, everything is going to get a 10-cent markup, because things can have such varied pricing. You'd want to be more precise on a price change like that. And obviously, same thing with fixed. You don't want to make everything the same price. And then this is the current price and current cost just shown for, and then we can change this current price to be what we want. So we have the option of saving this and then turn around and posting it now, or waiting for it to occur in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and just post this guy now, except for it won't let me because it's future, so it's got some checks and balances there. I'm going to go ahead and change this to today, and then this should let me post this one. Yeah, so that did a mass update for the old data, new data. And the unique thing about this, right, is it's basically creating multiple update item pricing rows that gets ran on the scheduler. So sometimes if customers aren't as savvy, I don't train them on this one. I just train them on the other option, unless they have a need for this, just because this can be more complex for some users. And so, but now I'm curious. I'm going to duplicate this. And see if I can't put one for a scheduler, just to see if the scheduler is working. So as best I can tell, duplicate's not working either. I didn't talk about round price. Round price forces it to end at a 9. So a lot of times if you're doing a margin calculation, you may want it to round up to the nearest 9. It's peculiar. The duplicate actually burned the numbers in between, just didn't create them. Unless it won't let you duplicate a posted one, which doesn't make sense, but you might want to be able to duplicate something and redo it. Yeah, so duplicate doesn't appear to work at all. Okay, so we'll see. Maybe I should change this to 8/18. So I don't have to wait 2 days. All right. Any questions on the concepts?
No.
So price